Let's talk peas, specifically southern peas, cow peas, or field peas. That's what we call a regular pea here in the South. Now, our neighbors up north, they call peas English peas. We separate the two, and we in the South call English peas, and just regular old peas in the South are cow peas, southern peas, or field peas, such as these zippers right here. Can you grow them in your vegetable garden? Heck yeah. Let's dig into it. Now with peas, you have two different types. You have determinates and indeterminates, just like tomatoes. These zippers here are determinate types. They're more lower to the ground. They normally load their crop up on top. They're a little easier to pick. Top picks are determinate as well. But we have some varieties such as Red Ripper that are indeterminates. Now the indeterminates normally vine a lot more. They take a lot more room to grow them. There's just a lot more pea there. And sometimes the peas are more in the vine and they're not as easy to harvest. And those types are better to trellis than these determinate types. But you have to take in consideration which type you're planting on kind of the spacing and if you're going to trellis and how much room to give them. When do you plant your cow peas? Now we live here in the South in zone 8. You can plant cow peas in the springtime, summertime, on into the fall. Cow peas love the heat. They may not germinate well if you plant them too early in the springtime, but you can grow them in the spring, summer, and fall. Now in my experience, what I have found is the best time to plant cow peas is in late summer for a fall crop. These zippers right here have 65 days maturity. So I think August is the best month to plant them. We planted ours in August. We start harvesting in October, and that is perfect. We have less disease pressure. We have less insect pressure. And it seems to be that we have a better crop when we grow them in the fall of the year. Now let's talk row spacing. How do you need to plant these cow peas? On these determinate types, such as zippers and top pick, I like to plant those 3 to 4 inches apart in my row. Plant them kind of thick. And then in between my rows, for me, 3 foot 36 inches seems ideal. Now, as you can see here with these zippers, these things have kind of crowded in and filled in the middles. That's fine because that helps us with weed control and moisture retention. We're getting there to harvest them. We have to walk on them a little bit, but it seems to work pretty good. Now, indeterminate types, such as Red Ripper, it's a little different story. We want to plant them in our row spacing somewhere between 8 to 10 inches apart. And in between our rows, we want to stretch that on out and go anywhere from 4 to 5 foot because we got a lot more vine with those. Now, you can use a trellis with those indeterminate types, such as cow panels or the Hortonova trellis that we sell, to help keep those vines upright instead of spreading out so far. Now let's talk about water, irrigation, and fertility. You want a pH somewhere around 6, 6.5, somewhere in that neighborhood there is ideal. You know, ideally if you can plant in some good soil that has pretty high organic matter, it's best. But on irrigation, peas normally like about 1 inch per week. They are fairly tolerant of drought, but I always like to put drip tape, especially in the fall of the year because it can turn off dry. So I like to put drip tape underneath my peas just in case it does turn off dry. But 1 inch per week is pretty good. When it gets closer to harvest time, I may bump that up a little bit. Now let's talk fertility. Cow peas do not take a lot of fertilizer. What I normally recommend on peas is a week or 2 before planting, incorporate use some complete organic fertilizer in the row there. Let it start working a little bit before you plant, and then plant. Really didn't take much after that. You can hit them with some micro boost. You can hit them with just a little bit of fertilizer a couple weeks after they come up. A lot of people don't. It's just according to the fertility of your soil. Now I planted behind corn here, which was ideal because I got to scavenge some of that fertilizer I had from my corn. So I fertilized pre-plant with my complete organic, and I didn't put much on it after that. If you put too much nitrogen on peas, you're going to end up with more vine and not peas. And we're trying to grow peas here, not vines. Okay, let's talk about pest pressure on cow peas. That's where the fall planting really comes into effect here. Our biggest pest, and most people's biggest pest with peas, is something called cowpea cucurio. And they will actually sting that pea, and you'll see little black spots on the pea here, and they're depositing their egg into that pea to reproduce. We don't like to eat eggs in our peas, so we try to control that cowpea cucurio. To do that, we have to spray with a pyrethroid such as our Bug Buster 2 pretty often. We have to stay on a strict schedule spraying our cowpeas. Another insect problem that we have sometimes, early in the growing season there in the springtime or maybe early in the summer is aphids. Aphids can get on our peas there, and they're normally pretty easy to control. We can control them with take all. We can control that with neem oil. So those are pretty easy to control. Our pyrethroid, which is our Bug Buster, will control the aphids as well. But when it comes to that cowpea cucurio, we got to switch up. We got to use something a little stronger like that Bug Buster 2. Now, as far as disease pressure goes, we have problems with some leaf spot and some rust. And what we want to use there is a chemical called Fungamax. It's a good fungicide for any of your peas and beans here. You can see the spotting up of the leaves. This is going to happen on into your harvest, but that Fungamax will keep them leaves nice and clean up until the time you start harvesting. So when do you harvest your cowpeas? Well, we like to eat ours in that green stage. So we like to shell ours out when they look about like this right here, and we'll eat them fresh, or we'll either can them or we'll put them in the freezer. So when they start getting really good and well filled out, as you see that one right there, it's actually changing colors a little bit. That's when we like to harvest them. As you can see here, some of these are still pretty small there, and they're not going to shell out very well, so they're not ready to harvest here. This one right here, you see that one right there? That's where we would harvest them or pick them in that stage right there so that they can shell out real good. And one way is to shell a couple of them and see how easy they shell out, and you'll know they're ready to harvest. Now there's another way you can harvest your peas, and that is a dried pea. You know those black-eyed peas that you eat at the first of the year on New Year's Day that you buy in the grocery store? Those are dried, and those are cowpeas. You can also do that with what you've got left in the garden. If you want to do that with your peas, you would simply let them dry out more so on the plant there, and that hull would turn kind of brown. You would pick them then and let them dry out some more. And that's a great way you can preserve them in a jar. You can be successful growing cowpeas in your backyard vegetable garden. Just understand the pests that you're going to be up against, when's the best time to plant them, and what kind of fertilizer to use, a good fertility program for peas. If you need more information, check out our pea growing guide on our Hoss University on the Hoss website.